The Golden State Warriors are finally back on the court, and after months deconstructing what went wrong last season, there's finally some optimism in the air. The entire roster has reported for duty, practice sessions are underway, and head coach Steve Kerr seems more confident than ever that this group might have what it takes to turn things around. The way Kerr and several players spoke after the opening practices gave fans a much-needed jolt of hope. Now, let's be clear, nobody's overpromising anything. But after the way last season ended, even a glimmer of confidence feels like a breath of fresh air. One of the most talked about names so far is Jonathan Kuminga. Now, anyone who followed the Warriors last year knows there was a cloud hanging over his role, especially down the stretch. But Kerr addressed that head-on. He admitted that the coaching staff struggled to find the right way to fit Kuminga into the rotation last season. And yeah, things got a little messy during off-season negotiations, with Kerr's name being thrown around in discussions related to Kuminga's future, but Kerr didn't shy away from it. He acknowledged that in the NBA, business is business and negotiations can get ugly. But he made one thing clear: there's no bad blood. If anything, he sees this season as a clean slate and a huge opportunity for Kuminga to become a major part of the offense. According to Kerr, the revamped roster creates space for Kuminga to finally thrive. There's a structure now that wasn't there before. The staff has had the entire offseason to map out how to integrate his skill set more effectively. And coming off a strong finish last season, particularly those last 30 or so games, there's some positive momentum they're hoping to ride into this new campaign. The chemistry between Jimmy and the rest of the group, the intensity they brought late in the year, the hunger to prove people wrong, all of that is fueling this team's early mindset in training camp. One change that could end up being a game changer is the addition of a big man who can actually shoot threes. Coach Kerr didn't say Al Horford's name directly, but let's be honest, we all know who he was talking about. He described having, for the first time in his coaching tenure, a true center who can consistently stretch the floor. And when you think of veteran bigs who've made a name for themselves knocking down threes over the past decade, two names come to mind: Al Horford and Brook Lopez. Sure, Kristaps Porzingis is another example of a big who can shoot, but he plays a completely different game. What Kerr seems to value here is the versatility and high IQ play that someone like Horford brings, not just the shooting, but the ability to make decisions, facilitate, and defend with savvy. And when you consider the Warriors' history with centers, guys like Kevin Looney, Andrew Bogut, Zaza Pachulia, and even a glimpse of DeMarcus Cousins, it's clear they've never had a big like this. Not one who can consistently pull defenders out to the perimeter and open lanes for slashers like Kuminga or Jimmy to attack the rim. Kerr mentioned that the team's average age might be higher, but in his eyes, that's a strength. These guys aren't just veterans. They're battle-tested winners who know exactly what it takes to compete at the highest level. Horford, for example, is coming off an NBA title in 2024 and has played in multiple finals. Jimmy has been there twice too, even though he came up short both times. And of course, Steph Curry and Draymond Green have 6 trips to the finals under their belts. That kind of experience creates a foundation for success. It's a core group that's seen it all and is now being reinforced with younger pieces like Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga, who tasted glory early in their careers and are now expected to step into more prominent roles. Speaking of stepping up, one name that keeps coming up is Quinton Post. The 7-footer had an impressive rookie season, shooting over 40% from beyond the arc. That kind of efficiency from a big is rare, especially for someone coming off the bench. And with Horford expected to gradually ease into a smaller regular season role to keep him fresh for the playoffs, Post could see his minute spike come February. The coaching staff wants to see whether he can avoid that dreaded sophomore slump that hits so many young players. It's that wall, the one a player might dodge in their rookie year only to smash into it in year 2. Post has the talent, but can he elevate? There's reason to be optimistic. First, he's still the only true 7-footer on the roster, which gives him a natural edge in matchups. And more importantly, he's in the perfect environment to grow. He's got Horford as a mentor, a player who's faced every elite big man of the past 2 decades. From Duncan to Shaq, from Jokic to Anthony Davis, from Dirk Nowitzki to Serge Ibaka in his prime. Horford has battled them all. Learning from someone with that kind of resume can do wonders for a young player like Post, who's still figuring out how to impose himself physically and mentally on the game. What's more interesting, though, is something you probably wouldn't expect. Quinton Post is apparently a bit of a chess prodigy. Over the summer, he won a Blitz chess championship in Las Vegas. And while that might seem like a random fun fact, it actually speaks volumes about his mentality. Chess is all about strategy, reading your opponent, and planning several moves ahead. That type of thinking, understanding the domino effect of each action, can be a major asset on the basketball court, especially for a big man going up against smarter, more experienced centers. If Post can apply that chess brain to his play on the floor, he might surprise people. Imagine him drawing a guy like Rudy Gobert out to the perimeter, forcing him into uncomfortable defensive situations, or acting as a decoy to open driving lanes for teammates like Kuminga or Jimmy. And who knows, maybe even finding ways to outthink Nikola Jokic or Anthony Davis in short spurts. He may not outmuscle those guys, but if he can outsmart them, that's a weapon. The hope is that this mentorship with Horford evolves into something truly impactful as the season progresses. The coaching staff is clearly going to manage Horford's minutes, especially as the grind of the regular season sets in. That means Post will need to stay ready and absorb everything he can. The more he learns, the more opportunities he'll get. And if he can keep that three-point shooting consistent while developing his decision-making and physicality, he might become a real rotation piece by the time the playoffs come around. But of course, it's not all sunshine and good vibes. There's already been a bit of a setback, and it involves DeAnthony Melton. The Warriors brought him in on a 2-year deal with a player option, expecting him to be a key contributor off the bench. But here's the issue. Melton is still recovering from knee injury and now has to have his ACL reevaluated. That's a red flag. You have to ask, why sign a player who isn't fully healthy? Especially when every roster spot is precious. Compare that situation to someone like Seth Curry, who signed an Exhibit 9 contract. That's a non-guaranteed deal, essentially meaning he's auditioning for a permanent spot during training camp. Yet, here's the thing, Seth is healthy. Not only that, he shot 45% from 3 last season. He's a proven sniper. So why give a guaranteed contract to Melton, who's still rehabbing, over someone like Seth, who's ready to contribute from day one? Yes, Melton might be younger and more athletic, but right now, availability matters. And if you're trying to build a reliable bench unit, you can't afford to waste time waiting on a player's rehab timeline, especially when that player is supposed to be part of your second unit. If Melton's knee doesn't respond the way they hope, he won't even be available for the first few weeks of the regular season. That's far from ideal. So now the coaching staff is in a tricky spot. Do they wait and hope Melton gets healthy in time? Or do they shift their focus to someone like Seth Curry, who could provide instant offense off the bench? Maybe Melton still has a role, but it's going to depend entirely on how the preseason unfolds. Because once games start, the decision-making gets real. Performances in practice and exhibition games will either confirm roles or force changes. And for players like Post, Moody, Pods, or even Seth, these next few weeks could be the make-or-break stretch that defines their role heading into the season. Because as much as Kerr believes in this group, and as strong as the core of Steph, Draymond, Jimmy, and Horford looks on paper, the truth is the final roster isn't locked in yet. Some guys may rise. Others may play their way out. Trades are still a possibility. Financial flexibility still matters. And the clock is ticking fast. Training camp is the first big test. Preseason is the second. And after that, it's go time. While training camp continues and the preseason edges closer, one thing is becoming clear. This version of the Golden State Warriors is walking a very fine line between proven experience and raw, developing potential. It's a delicate balance. On one side, you've got veterans who have seen it all, won it all, and understand exactly what it takes to survive an 82-game season and make a legitimate title run. On the other, there are younger players still finding their footing, eager to prove they belong, but needing time and structure to flourish. And for head coach Steve Kerr, managing that contrast is going to be one of the most important challenges of the entire year. That contrast was on full display in the early days of practice. Veterans like Steph, Draymond, and Horford set the tone, moving with intent, communicating constantly, and leading by example. But as high as their basketball IQ is, they can't carry the full weight anymore, not every single night. That's why the growth of the younger guys like Kuminga, Moody, Pods, and Post is so vital. They're no longer just prospects. They're expected to deliver, to play meaningful minutes, to close games, to respond when the team is in trouble. There's no more hiding behind the development excuse. That phase is over. The window for this Warriors core to contend is still cracked open, but it won't stay that way for long. That's why everything from now until opening night matters more than ever. The games may not count yet, but the habits being formed in these practices, the on-court chemistry being tested in scrimmages, and the subtle decisions made by the coaching staff will all echo into the regular season. Who earns trust? Who shows the right instincts defensively? Who's reliable under pressure? These aren't just surface-level questions. They go right to the heart of whether or not this team can maximize its championship DNA while building a sustainable future at the same time. Kerr has always emphasized ball movement, smart spacing, and selfless offense, and this group has the potential to fit that mold beautifully, especially if the bigs can shoot. That's why having players like Post and Horford who can stretch the floor is such a big deal. It changes the geometry of the offense. It gives Curry more room to operate. It gives Jimmy more chances to attack the basket without facing a crowded paint. And it creates endless options for backdoor cuts, extra passes, and fluid motion, the style that made the Warriors nearly unstoppable at their peak. But shooting isn't enough. Defense, as always, will be the foundation. And this is where players like Moody, Pods, and Melton, if healthy, become crucial. The Warriors have never been a team that wins purely with offense. Their most dominant stretches always included elite defensive effort, from switching aggressively to help rotations and transition stops. That defensive identity slipped at times last year, and Kerr knows that getting it back is non-negotiable. It's not just about effort. It's about communication, discipline, and trust. Young players need to talk. They need to rotate on time. They need to close out with purpose. These are the details that don't show up in the stat sheet, but decide games in the fourth quarter. That's also why the absence or limited availability of DeAnthony Melton becomes even more frustrating. When healthy, he's one of the best guard defenders in the league. Fast hands, quick feet, and a nose for the ball. His ability to hound opposing ball handlers and create chaos would have been a perfect complement to this roster. But with his status uncertain due to that ACL reevaluation, Kerr might be forced to lean even more on guys like Pods and Moody, who are still sharpening their defensive instincts. It's not ideal, but it's reality. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. In a move that has left basketball fans across the United States buzzing, sources close to the matter claim that Domantas Sabonis, one of the most versatile big men in the NBA, has reportedly agreed to a 3-year deal with the Golden State Warriors. The potential signing, still shrouded in mystery and awaiting official confirmation, has sparked intense speculation about the Warriors' plans for the upcoming seasons and their championship aspirations. Sabonis, known for his relentless rebounding, high basketball IQ, and ability to stretch the floor with his mid-range and three-point shooting, has been a key figure in any team he's played for. Over the years, he has earned a reputation as a player who can change the dynamics of both offense and defense. And the thought of him joining a team already stacked with talent, such as Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, has sent fans and pundits into overdrive. The Warriors, who have been looking to reinforce their front court depth while maintaining their signature style of fast-paced, sharpshooting basketball, could see Sabonis as the perfect puzzle piece. Insiders suggest that Sabonis' decision to head west could be motivated by multiple factors, including the opportunity to compete for another title, the appeal of playing under a well-established coaching staff, and the chance to be part of a storied franchise that has dominated much of the past decade. While his former team will undoubtedly feel the loss, the allure of Golden State, combined with a lucrative 3-year deal, appears to have been too tempting to resist. The NBA community is already abuzz with what-if scenarios. Could Sabonis and Draymond Green form an imposing interior tandem? How would the Warriors balance their spacing with a versatile big man on the floor? Analysts are already drafting potential lineups and discussing how this rumored acquisition could shift the balance of power in the Western Conference. If the whispers prove true, the Warriors would not just be adding a player. They would be reshaping the landscape of the league. For now, fans are left in suspense, eagerly refreshing social media feeds, awaiting a formal announcement and imagining the possibilities. One thing is certain. If this rumor holds any weight, the Golden State Warriors have just made the NBA offseason infinitely more intriguing. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.